together. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Allen?
Here.
Commissioner Delves?
Here.
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Here.
Commissioner Locke?
Here.
Chair LePage?
Here. I want to welcome all of you today. It's a really beautiful day out there in Carmel, as I'm sure you're all experiencing. Okay, the first item on the agenda are announcements. I believe that Marnie Waffle has some announcements.
I think public appearances.
Oh, is that before?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, we just skipped right over the public. Anyway, at this time, anyone from the public may address the Planning Commission on any matters of municipal concern which are not on our agenda tonight. So this is a time for you to speak to us about those matters which are not on our agenda tonight. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak to us? Come forward. Anybody online? Any hands going up?
I don't see anyone.
Okay, all right, now I'll have the announcements.
Well, thank you, Chair LePage. So the first announcement is I want to congratulate Commissioner Locke on her reappointment to the Planning Commission for another term. So thank you for your continued involvement and all your hard work on behalf of the commission and the community. And then the second announcement, happy to introduce our new assistant planner, Jake Olander. So Jake started on May 1st. He is originally from Oakland. He comes to us from the city of Piedmont. He has his bachelor's degree in urban studies with a minor in sustainable environmental design from UC Berkeley. And we are just thrilled to have him join our team. Jake, do you want to say a few words to the commission?
Just happy to be here and excited to work with you guys.
Happy to have it.
Welcome to the city, Jake. We're glad to have you. Okay, and I think Commissioner Locke has an announcement.
Yes, thank you, Marnie. Welcome, Jake, by the way. I do want to thank Mayor Potter and Mayor Pro Tem Richards and the entire council for their confidence in me and appointment for another term on the Planning Commission. I'm very much looking forward to continuing the work we're doing, so thank you.
We're very glad to have you. Okay, no further announcements. That moves us to the consent agenda. Consent items are considered to be routine in nature and usually are passed in one motion. If there's any items on the consent agenda that the public or the commissioners would like pulled, just speak up. We have 4 items on the consent agenda tonight. We have our monthly activity report. We have a use permit. This is use permit 24048 and a design review permit 24130. This is the Luca Cantonetta project's expansion of a restaurant use and increase total indoor seating. Item number 3 is a design study, DS23290, the Golden Mean. This is consideration of a final design study and associated coastal development permit for the construction of a new 1,600 square foot single-family home. Item number 4 is a design study and a lot merger. It's DS23171 and lot merger 23172. This is a DOS project, consideration of final design study, lot merger, coastal development permit for demolition of existing house and new residence. So would anybody from the public or commissioners like any of those items pulled for further discussion?
Chair, staff will need to pull item number 2, the Cantonetta Luca use permit.
Okay. And Neil, you had your hand up. Which one?
3, please.
Item number 3, DS. Okay. All right. So that leaves the monthly activity report and item number 4, DS 23171 and lot merger 23172. So I will make a motion that we accept those 2 items from the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, motion is carried. Let's go over item number 2 first. So this is UP 24048 and DR 2413, the Cantonetta Luca.
Yeah, so the applicant has informed staff that they no longer intend to proceed with the project, and they have withdrawn the application. So we do not actually need to take action on this item.
Okay, so it's not continued, it's just been
It's not
withdrawn, so it
continued.
doesn't require a motion? Okay.
Exactly, it's a withdrawn
Okay, so that item
application.
is removed from our agenda at the request of the applicant.
Yes.
Okay, then that brings us to item number 3, and which is Design Study 23-290, the Golden Mean. Would you like to come forward, Neil? And
I'm Neil Cruz with the Carmel Preservation Association. Just noticing again on that particular design, we have the standing seam metal roofs, which we always talk about when we see them. Standing seam metal roofs, if you've ever been to Squaw Valley or you've been to a skiing village, every house has standing seam metal roofs. And I'm thinking that we're starting to look more and more like Squaw Valley. It's just not an old world roof. There are also metal shingles that are made now that come in small pieces, so you don't need a large sheet and anything like that. So just commenting on the standing seam roofs and referring to the design guidelines where it is not recommended. So that's all. Thank you.
thank you, Neil. Please come forward.
My name is Kelly Francis. I'm next door. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm next door to the project at hand. So I just had 2 quick comments. One is Mr. Lehman and I exchanged emails this week, so it was sort of, nothing was submitted in writing, but regarding the fence. And so I don't know the appropriate manner to do this, but I would like those emails taken into account. We came to an agreement about the style of fence and so on, and that it would be constructed before the construction starts. And then the second thing, which just is an afterthought that occurred to me only today, is that it might have gotten lost in the shuffle, is the neighbors had made comment to me about concerns about drainage, and this is out of my expertise entirely. And so Mr. Lehman seemed to acknowledge that, and that there was underground springs. So in addition to normal hillside water issues, there were underground springs on that property, as well as, to my knowledge, they were only across the street prior to that. But that should be addressed. I assume it would be by his drainage expert in the plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, staff, have any comments on this?
In respect to the standing seam metal roof, that is within the purview of the Planning Commission. It was discussed, not regarding this project at the last hearing, but it has been proposed throughout this project, and no comments have been made by the commission. Regarding the fence, I have been included on those emails. The applicant can construct the fence prior to issuance of a building permit. I don't know that would be an appropriate condition for the project, but the applicant could submit effectively a standalone application for a fence that could be issued by staff as early as tomorrow, when we open for the day. And then in respect to drainage, all drainage is required to be maintained on site. The plans are currently downloading, but the applicant does have a drainage plan. All drainage is required to be retained on site, as well as be engineered for any stormwater runoff.
Okay, I neglected to ask if the applicant wanted to make any comments. If you do, come up, Gail. I know Alan's not here today, I assume.
No, he is, but he's on his way. So, hi, I'm Gail Lehman. I'm not used to being on this side. We, as Evan has said, we've had the standing seam metal roof throughout all the drawings on the project. As you know, they're really fireproof, or certainly as fire resistant as you can get. And we think it's important. We always use a duller color and keep the, I don't know if you can hear me, keep the sheen as low as possible. So we're pretty aware of that, and I believe it is on the drawings. And what was the other thing? The fence. I'm sure Alan will probably want a day or two, since he's on a flight very early tomorrow morning, to pick up our grandson, or his son, my grandson. So that's a big commitment because the flight leaves at 5:15 a.m. So, but I'm sure he'll be here soon if anything more needs to be added. So.
Okay, thank you, Gil.
Speaking of,
Did Alan want to have any comments? He kind of came a little late to the party, but there. I don't know if there's been some comments, concerns from the public about the metal seam roof, the fence, and the drainage. I don't know if you want to comment on any of that.
Sure. I brought with me a slightly revised rendering. I'm sorry. My name is Alan Lehman, designer on the project. Apologize for my tardiness. I discussed with Evan. He brought up some concerns about the fence and the potential monumentality of the stone pillar elements along the fence. And so on the rendering, I've removed those except for at the gate-like entrance to the path. And so in order to better address the concerns of the guidelines regarding the potential monumentality of the fence element. And the side yard fence. Is that
the side yard?
Side yard fence, I've discussed that at length with the neighbor to the south, who requested a taller fence element there to go up to what Evan said would be allowable, which is 7 feet. With the top 1 foot section being shown in the image, a square lattice, which we could then train vines to, address any privacy concerns, but it's also, even just the lattice itself would address a lot of the privacy concerns. So that's all we're seeking is that extra 1 foot. We would have the fence main posts just run up and support those elements, keep it very simple, nothing with little capitals on it, just a flat top across the top. So it's a rather sedate and visually muted element. Also did bring a color sample board if you wanted to get a better look at the actual color chips. For the siding, trim, doors, and windows. Maybe it's moot at this point. I brought some window section pieces to discuss if there was any concerns about the clad windows. Regarding the roofing, I feel strongly that building a house today in our current environment, both for fire safety and longevity, and also in very much in keeping with a very somewhat traditional aesthetic. We've seen it over time last for nearly we're coming up on a century of the Frank Lloyd Wright House, one of the most treasured pieces of architecture on the West Coast, from my opinion. I just adore that house and the way the ocean, crashes into the prow of the ship that it is. That with its metal roof, and I understand that there's been some concerns about an aesthetic that the metal roofs are putting forth. For one, as you can see from the street rendering that's up on the board now, this is not a roof form facing the street. And so, yes, as you travel around the house, you would see some of that, but there's so much tree cover all around this house that I don't see that being a detractor in any way. I find it to be, both from a sustainable fire safety and an aesthetic standpoint, a benefit to the house and the neighborhood.
Okay, thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else from the public? Please come forward.
I just want to compliment Alan on the design of the house. It looks very, very nice. The one thing I would say, though, that is a detraction from it is the metal roof. There are other options that are fireproof roofs that we can use that are more in keeping with that very, very nice design, and would actually add value and aesthetics to the house. I think that metal roofs are really inappropriate in Carmel. We have other, like I said, we have other options construction-wise for dealing with fireproof issues. And I would hate to see a continued presence of metal roofs. It really changes the flavor of a neighborhood, and if we continue to approve them when we don't have to, I think it's going to really change the feeling of Carmel. So that's my 2 cents. Melanie Billig, thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Melanie. Is there anyone else who would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application? Anybody online? Yeah.
No, sir, no one online.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comments, bring it back to the commissioners. Commissioner Allen, do you have any comments? Or
I am ready to move forward with this design.
And Commissioner Locke?
I'm ready to move forward with this design as well, but I do want to also mention the fact that we have seen the standing seam metal roof on this since it came to us for concept originally. And I have mentioned at previous Planning Commission meetings as well that there are other options for metal roofs besides standing seam metal, and it would be really nice to see some actual metal roofs that have tile look to them versus doing just the regular standing seam. So, but in this case, I think we've seen this one before, so thank you.
Commissioner Karapetkoff?
On the roofing?
Well, the subjects brought up were the roofing. I think Alan addressed the fencing to the neighbor's satisfaction, and then the drainage, but there is a drainage plan, and so it's kind of, I think the subject really of issue is the roof.
So on the roofing side, I think in this case the metal roof is hardly visible. First of all, it's broken in a lot of small pieces, small sub-roofs, and then a portion of it is covered by the solar panels. And then in between you have the flat roof, so it's kind of broken into pieces. It doesn't really create this view of, like a storage building, let's say, where you have a long line of metal. So it is, I think it's acceptable in this case. I'm more concerned about the flat roof actually, and it's more from a practical perspective because metal roof has a lifespan from 40 to 70 years. Flat roof on the other side has a much shorter lifespan, like 20, 25 years. So what happens when you go up to fix your flat roof and you start stepping on these metal components? That's my concern, is that if you have a mix of different roofs with different lifespan, you create a maintenance problem. So there is some wisdom, I guess, in the design guideline that says that try to stick to the same thing consistently across the house. Don't try to do multiple different flavors of a roof or siding or whatever you're working on. So that's my concern, is really with the flat section of the roof. Drainage, I noticed that there is a slope, and I remember this time we didn't look at that in a lot of detail, but last time, a couple of months ago, when we look at the lot, I noticed that the house to the north has some drainage pipes along the fence. And I think they're designed to capture that water that comes from the lot where the house is going to be built. I would like to understand the concern. Is the concern now that because more of the area will be covered by concrete, there will be less permeable space, more water will be coming down the hill, and maybe these drainage pipes are going to overflow or they're not designed to handle so much water? I would like to understand what the problem is. So that's my comment on the drainage. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Delps?
I'm also ready to approve this project. I understand the concerns about the metal roof. I agree with my colleagues that this one in particular is not visible, highly visible from the street. I know we've talked about the flat roof component before. I think I'm past that, I don't have concerns about it. You know, on metal roofs, metal roofs were common in Victorian homes. They're not a new material. I understand that this particular type of standing seam metal roof is. I think the other factor here, as my colleague mentioned, are the solar panels and the state requirement for solar panels. And I've done it at my house. Put solar panels on a wood shake roof is difficult in many ways, and the mold and algae that starts to build up under them is also problematic. So I think for fire reasons, solar reasons, and kind of ongoing design reasons, I think metal roofs will probably be part of the new design guidelines, which we're all looking forward to seeing and haven't seen yet.
Thank you for your comments. I'm a little concerned about the proliferation of standing seam metal roofs. I think they don't really go with the character of the village. We've moved away from wood because of the fire problems, and I think everybody has accepted that. But there's Class A heavy butt composition, fiberglass composition shingles, which still kind of mimic the village character that we have, and I really am starting to see these metal seam roofs just not in the character with our community, and there's other options, that address the fire issue, and I think they're a better aesthetic product, and particularly for this house. This is a really nice house. It's got a nice cottage feel to it. It's got a few contemporary elements, but that's, I think, what makes it interesting. Kind of shows the skill of the designer. And I do agree that you can't really see this metal roof like you can on some other lots, but I think the broader question, and I really want to ask the commissioners, because we're the ones that give the direction on these sort of subjective issues, which are interpretations of how do we maintain the character of the community. And I'm wondering what the other commissioners, how they feel about going forward. Are we going to recommend? Are we going to continue to okay the standing seam? There's other types of metal roofs. I mean, as Alan himself pointed out, the Frank Lloyd Wright House on the Point has it's got a horizontal seam rather than the vertical standing seam, and it really adds to the character of that structure. And so we have approved some metal shingle types of roofs in the past. And I'm just kind of curious what the other commissioners think about that. I'm just going to throw it out there, because I think we need to get some direction here. I mean, maybe the ship has sailed on this project. Seems like the majority of the commissioners are ready to approve it, but I think this is a good opportune time to get a little more input on this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner Locke.
Yeah, and going back to my previous comments, and you just echoed, there are other options besides the standing seam. And the metal and stone-coated metal type roofs. And I think we need to really be encouraging some diversity in metal roofs. My other concern, and I've said this to staff a few times, I'd like to identify the metal roofs that have been approved and actually take a look at the glare that comes off of those. Again, I work in Ryan Ranch. I see what's going on at Montera and out in Hidden Hills. And I see a lot of glare coming off of the metal roofs out there. And it may be not only the metal roofs, but it may also be the solar panels that are on the metal roofs. But I think that we really need to look at that from the perspective of the people who are either uphill or across the valley from where these houses are. And I'd really like to have those identified and then do some actual review of whether there are effects on the neighbors. And so I guess the bottom line, I would say I would really encourage getting away from the standing seam and going to some other types of metal roofs. And I do agree that because of fire hazard and whatnot, we do have to kind of be more accepting of some different materials at this point.
Go ahead, Commissioner Allen.
So I totally agree with Commissioner Locke, and I also agree with the comments that were made by Melanie around the fact that it does change the look of the neighborhood. In this specific instance, I believe since we're so far down the road with this, we should have brought this up sooner to the designer. And I also feel like since it isn't visible from the street, that I feel comfortable moving ahead with this project. But in the future, I would like to see other options. I have not been a fan of the metal roofs that have come in front of us.
Any other commissioners have any comments?
Yeah, I think if our city attorney was here, he'd probably tell us we should have agendized this topic for a future conversation, but he's not here, so.
So we'll just charge ahead.
You betcha. I guess the frustration for me is this is one of many things, several things that were intended to be addressed by the updated design guidelines. We as a planning commission and the design review board were specifically excluded from participating in the development of the new design guidelines, a decision I question, but it's a fact. And we're busy, and I think that was part of the spirit, and I think the people on that committee are quite competent. But we're not seeing any progress. I mean, it's been at least 2 years, and we haven't seen anything. Maybe a draft, maybe. So that's where this is supposed to be dealt with. And if we don't see that, I think we're stuck with our old design guidelines, and now we probably have to start taking action on our own to codify in some way what our opinions are. So other than that, I agree with my colleagues.
Commissioner Karapikov?
I mean, we have to, I think we have to look at the neighborhood as a whole and kind of figure out what is the reasonable amount or percentage of metal roofs we can live with. I mean, it's not a problem if 1 of 10 houses has a metal roof. It becomes a problem when 9 of 10 houses has a metal roof. So we have to be able to look at these metrics and at some point say, no, that's probably enough. It's just influencing the whole look and feel of the street too much.
Well, I'm just going to pose a question to the designer. Can you come up? Are you receptive to maybe changing this to a composition roof at this point? I mean, it's late in the game, but this is still a design review in a way. We're at the final point, and nothing's been built, and so I'm just asking you if you have just your feelings.
Well, somewhat obviously, my preference is definitely for the metal roof. I think the aesthetic works very well with this project overall. And as Commissioner Karapikov pointed out, some of the maintenance issues are key to that as well as the attachment points of solar panels, which we are really trying to maximize the net zero capabilities of this build by installing quite a few solar panels, or at least proposing in those zones. There are 3 very large areas where we're proposing solar panel arrays. So for those reasons, it is definitely my preference. If it was an absolute and it was a requirement for me to proceed with the project, I'm willing to make an adjustment as required. But my preference absolutely is for this to have the standing seam metal roof. Again, as I think we discussed earlier, or maybe it was the last project I was working on, we're discussing it, is a low profile standing seam, so not the heavy, tall standing seam that we've seen quite a bit in the past, but the more low profile, so it's a more subtle shadow line, as well as the color was chosen for on the metal suppliers color chart, the absolute lowest SRI available, which is a 0.3. I think we're requiring a 0.24 or a 0.20, and this is a 0.3. So this will be absolutely solar reflectance, the dullest surface possible. Well, let's not call it dull, least reflective surface possible.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alan, you mentioned that you prefer the metal seam or the metal roof for the solar panels. Can you explain what is the what's the benefit of putting solar on the metal roof versus doing it on another?
So, like, say if we had an asphalt composition roof, the attachment points for that would be a kind of a base that would screw into the roof below the shingles, and then there's a flashing piece that goes on top of that, all creating potential points of failure. The standing seam allows to pinch the standing seam and attach there, so there isn't an additional attachment point through going, you know, all these attachment points that have to penetrate the roof. As well as in 50 years, I don't think I'll be around here to be involved with the project at that point, but metal is recyclable, whereas asphalt composition goes in the landfill. And also, you know, so in 50 to 60 years, the roofing may get recycled out of metal in about 25 years, because an asphalt 40-year or 50-year roof lasts about 25 years. It's a marketing number, that 40-year roof. And that goes into a landfill. So I have yet to see any roofers recycling that material. So,
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Okay, with that, we have a resolution. I guess we don't have a resolution. It was on the consent agenda, so
No,
it's
we do
either-
have one. Yeah.
We do have a resolution in there? Let me get it up here. You got it up?
Yeah, you want me
You want to go over that? You got it up there?
I do. I mean, I don't see, there's nothing here that's,
There's no special conditions.
there are special conditions, but they're,
They're just the standard ones. We got special conditions. We have acknowledgement of condition approval, no copper gutters, downspouts, construction management plan, fence pillars. The designer addressed that, and exterior finished materials. He's provided us with all the exterior finished materials. So do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the resolution provided by staff.
I can second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution as presented by staff. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes?
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. I think it was a good discussion. Okay. Did that get us through the consent agenda?
Yes, it did.
Did we, oh, the other one was withdrawn by the applicant, so we are done with the consent agenda. All right, okay. All right, next item on our agenda tonight is an order of business. This is a review of the carryover over fiscal year 2023-24, fiscal year 2024-25. It's the capital improvements plan for consistency with the general plan. We have the staff report, please.
All right, well, thank you, Chair LePage. I'm going to introduce this item, and then Javier, our project manager in Public Works, is going to give you an overview of some of the capital improvement projects. So before you this afternoon is the carryover fiscal year 23-24, and then also fiscal year 24-25 capital improvement plan. The commission is being asked to review the plan and make a determination of consistency with the general plan. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this with my left hand. Okay, so on March 4th and March 26th, the City Council met and discussed the capital improvement projects for the upcoming fiscal year. Tonight, again, the Planning Commission is being asked to review the plan for consistency with the city's general plan. Following your decision this evening, it will go back to the City Council at their May 21st workshop, and then on to the adoption hearings in June. So in accordance with the Government Code as well as the Carmel Municipal Code, the Planning Commission is required to review the draft capital improvement program. I sound like a broken record here, but to determine consistency with the general plan. So that's really what we're here to do this evening. This review does not include the merits or feasibility of the projects, just whether or not they're consistent with the policies and objectives of the general plan. So in total, there are 30 capital improvement plan projects. These are across 4 different categories. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Javier, who's going to give you an overview of some of these projects.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks, Marnie. So we have, as Marnie stated, we have it broken down into 4 categories. The first one being facilities and buildings, physical infrastructures, the second one, natural resources, the third one, and IT systems, equipment, and vehicles being the fourth. So what you see here is the initial one, which is facilities and buildings, and a portion of these are carryover projects. So really, I just want to give you an overview of some of the existing ones that maybe weren't brought to the commission last year, and then the new ones that are proposed for this year. As you see, item 3 right here is the Vista Lobos EV charging stations. So we're moving to install EV stations at the Vista Lobos site at the parking lot. And this would be 3 EV charging stations that would be used for fleet services. We have a couple projects that are down, or a couple retaining wall projects that are proposed down at Sunset Center. That's item 5. That's a total of 6 retaining walls that are of need of work. Can you? So, and then as you see on here on item 8 and 9, item 8 is the 7th year of ADA improvements, and this involves improvements to city-owned buildings and facilities. Item 9 is upgrade to the garage access and control systems. And then item 10, which is a Park Branch Library windows repairs. And we find that all these are consistent with the general plan. Then we move on to the next one, which is equipment, IT equipment and vehicles. As you can see in item 14, which is there, that was one that's carried over, but it's upgrade to audio and video system for the facilities here. So there we go. So and then item 15 is also IT related, which is replace core networks and network firewall. 16 and 17 is replacing the vehicles, that being one for Public Works and a couple for the police department.
Do we ask questions at the end or during the presentation?
Yeah, let's just save your questions, write them down, then we'll.
Where are we at? Item 20. Yeah, so the next ones is I want to touch on is item 20, which is a carryover project, and this is shoreline infrastructure repairs, which is repairs of some of the stairways down at the beach and some needed work at some of the walls out there and the outfall. 21 is Mission Trail Nature Preserve at Doolittle Footbridge and path realignment. This is again a proposed project for the upcoming fiscal year, and the last one on this section being the PG&E Rule 20A undergrounding project. The last section is physical infrastructure, and if you can go all the way to the last one, and I'll just touch in on the couple new ones, which is the San Antonio pathway reconstruction, which is repairs of failed areas of walls along San Antonio. 28 is Ocean Carpenter. This is enter into an agreement with the county for potential repairs of a portion of Ocean Avenue. 29, we're as part of the master planning, it was recommended in this one of the projects, the Junipero bypass drainage project, and this is for design services for that portion. And then item 30, which is the Lincoln and Fort Trestle Bridge, and this is also just to assess the structure components and the feasibility of that project. And I think that covers them all.
So as you can see on the chart, we've gone through each one of these projects and determined which policies, objectives that it is consistent with in the general plan. That's noted in that far right column. We've also taken a look at the projects for purposes of CEQA and provided some information on that as well. So in summary, staff does find that each of the projects in the upcoming capital improvement plan are consistent with the general plan. We're recommending that the commission adopt a resolution as such. That concludes our presentation.
Okay, commissioners have questions for staff?
Yeah, so
good.
It's not really a question, it's a kind of a statement. I got a couple calls this week on this topic, and it was people really wanting to discuss the merits of specific line items in here. So I checked with staff to make sure this is the fourth time I've done this, and it's always the same. And the fact is, we are not here today to discuss the merits of these. These are decisions that were made by the City Council to include in the budget, in the capital improvement plan, and the approval based on the merits will happen. There will be a budget workshop, I think, on the 21st, and then I think in June, the City Council approves these or doesn't approve these. So we're only asked to say, yes, these are in compliance with the general plan. And the staff has really already done that work. So that's just for the benefit of everybody listening, period.
And you are absolutely correct. But did you have a question for for staff about one of the?
If I can ask the question here, I'll leave it for the workshop, but I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
The first one is about cybersecurity. You have one item that is replacing the firewall. What else is being done to guarantee cybersecurity? Especially ransomware is very popular. A lot of organizations are suffering from that. Is there any plan to do penetration testing, whatever, to make sure that nobody can grab data from the city and encrypt it and then ask for ransom money, right? That's what they do.
Right. I don't think I have the capabilities to answer that question.
No. I'm just saying, because it seems to be part of this. Right. Just upgrading the firewall is a great idea, always a good idea. But the bigger problem that you're trying to solve is to prevent people from attacking the city and stealing information, right? So right. That was my question. Is there a plan to do penetration testing and make sure that that doesn't happen? The other one item I didn't understand is the PG&E undergrounding element there. Are we working with PG&E in a certain way?
Correct. So just to elaborate a little bit on that project, it's a PG&E. The city has credits or funding credits to underground portions of their overhead wiring and poles. And this project is to do such. It's limited, but it's one of those projects that has just been lingering with PG&E, and so we're really trying to make a focus to get this project done and get a portion of the city's infrastructure undergrounded. But it's a PG&E.
And is Public Works doing part of the work, and then PG&E is doing another part, or how does that work?
Right, we're doing this. We're facilitating the interaction between I guess the approvals between council, there has to be a district that has to get approved through council. So we're doing the facilitating of that with PG&E.
Okay, and the drainage elements here, they're in sync, I assume they're in sync with the drainage plan. We have this big drainage plan.
Correct.
Over a
Correct. With the
long
master
period of time.
planning?
Yes,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
So
in,
they're from that plan.
correct. They're from the master plan update that just got released last year.
Yeah, thank you. I think only one item, I saw that there is a plan to replace a major gas line on Dolores.
Water line. Water main.
What is it?
It's a Cal-Am water main.
Okay, so this is not something that Public Works is involved in?
Correct. No,
Okay.
it's a private utility company.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to invite any members of the public to come up and make any comments. Nobody here in the chamber. Anybody online raising their hand?
No, sir, no one online.
Okay. In that case, we have a resolution. It's pretty much just an approval or denial that is in conformance with the general plan. So, somebody like to make a motion?
Sure. I move adoption of the resolution in our packet determining that the city's carryover for fiscal year 23-24 and fiscal year 24-25 capital improvement plan is consistent with the city's general plan.
I can
Second
second
that.
that.
Oh, you can second that? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, the motion is made and second to
Where are our new chairs?
It's my personal grievance, but I really can't air that at this moment. I'll do it later out in front. Okay, we have a motion. It's been made and seconded. Can we, no further discussion, I assume? All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Carr-Petkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, the motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the public hearings this evening. So the first item on our public hearing is a design study. This is DS 23-208. It's a Hunter project. This is consideration of a combined concept and final design study associated coastal development permit for the construction of a 1,600 square foot, one-story, single-family residence and a 200 square foot detached garage on a vacant lot located at Casanova Street, 2 northwest of 13th. Have staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the subject site is a 4,000 square foot vacant lot. The applicant is proposing to construct I apologize, there's a slight typo on the screen. It's an 1,800 square foot residence, or 1,800 square foot project, split between a 1,600 square foot residence and a 200 square foot detached garage. Additional project components include site coverage additions throughout, as well as comprehensive landscaping throughout the site. Project was originally considered at the March 2024 Planning Commission hearing. That application was continued with direction to the applicant to make some modifications. The primary changes, and I'll go through each one of these, was the proposed metal roof was changed to a composite wood shake roof. So over here we have the originally proposed standing seam metal roof. And the material was changed to a composite shake roof. So that is not a true wood roof, but a composite material that simulates a wood finish. The Monterey pine, which was a hot topic of conversation at the last hearing, that was proposed to be removed, has been proposed to be maintained on site. The building form has maintained primarily the same outline. The red outline was what was previously proposed, so you can see for the majority of the site, it has been maintained. and then it has been stepped away where the Monterey pine is now proposed to remain, and it is 6 feet away from the tree. The proposed tree planting has been modified. So previously a eucalyptus was proposed, and that tree has been changed to a coast live oak, with the other trees all proposed to remain on site. The dormer windows have been reduced in size. This is the, I believe the north elevation. Actually, I apologize. It looks like I took two separate elevations, but they both illustrate the same concept. Along the sides of the buildings, this was the originally proposed dormer. This is the new proposed dormer, so it has been reduced in size. And then from the front elevation, you can see that the dormers have been pulled away from the exterior wall plane. So these red lines are just intended to demonstrate where that exterior wall is. So the dormers have been pulled away. So you can see here. And then also planting along the northern property line has been included for the benefit of the northern neighbor. And then we just have an additional comparison of the building elevations where you can better see those changes to the dormers. The rear elevation primarily has not changed. Same thing along the south elevation. You can see the changes to the roof material as well as the change to the dormers. This is the north elevation. This is the elevation that faces the neighbor and the pine tree. Mostly the same. Dormers have changed, and then this is the area where that building form now steps away from the tree. In respect to the finished details, the applicant is proposing a downlit light, the composite wood shake roof, aluminum clad windows, vertical wood siding painted gray, whitewash veneer, space scrape stake fencing, solid vertical fence along the side and rear yard, and a impermeable patio. I believe it says sandset, but my understanding it is mortared, as well as landscaping throughout the entire site. And then we also just have a comparison of the renderings. So you can compare the before and after. So again, you have the change to the roof material, the dormers, and then the retention of the tree and the additional landscaping. So with that, staff is recommending the Planning Commission approve a combined concept and final design study and associated coastal development permit. As alternatives, the Commission can accept a concept only with any applicable conditions or direction to the applicant, or they can continue the project with direction to the applicant for changes. We do have the city forester here if there are any technical questions regarding the pine tree. Just want to make that resource available. I don't have any specific questions for him, but he is here should there be questions. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions for staff? None here? Okay, thank you. All right, would the applicant like to come forward at this time, make their presentation?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sam Pitnick. I'm the architect for the Hunter residence. Evan, thank you for the presentation. So as Evan noted, back in our hearing in March, we first presented the design to you. We received a lot of comments back from the neighbors to the north, the Watsons, surrounding community, and you, the commissioners. We want to be, of course, as considerate as possible, and since I've been working to address all the comments we've received, especially those from the Watsons immediately to the north. Since the last hearing, I did meet with the Watsons, their architect, and we've had numerous phone conversations and emails with them. So this afternoon, I'll go over the comments quickly and how we've addressed them. Evan did, I think, a fantastic job of kind of going over how we've responded to each item, so I apologize if this is a little redundant. But yeah, first, the large pine tree. So we have agreed to keep and maintain that pine tree. And so in order to keep development 6 feet away, we've just made some minor adjustments to the layout of the primary bathroom at the rear of the home, and that allowed us to respect that minimum 6-foot distance away from the pine tree. And of course, as we eventually get into construction drawings, we'll make sure our structural engineer details any foundations and footings such that if any roots are encountered, we can easily bridge and span over those. And of course, adhere to any conditions about hand digging and notifying the city and the forester should we encounter any roots larger than 2 inches. I think it was brought up yesterday that our patio and landing might have encroached slightly into that 6-foot setback from the tree, but only by a few inches, so we'll certainly make that correction after today. The dormer windows have been scaled back significantly. At the first hearing, the Watsons and their architect were concerned about the shadow that it might cast on their property, so those have been scaled back by about 50%, and we've pulled them back away from the exterior walls below. So we think the new scale is a little more appropriate for the home and a little more typical of what you see in and around Carmel. We have also changed the metal standing seam roof. The Watsons were concerned about that as well, and I think generally there was some concern and lots of debate about metal roofs in Carmel. And so we did submit samples of the Brava brown composite wood shake roof to Evan. It's a great product. It's fire resistant, and it looks pretty good in my opinion. So I think that'll be a little more appropriate than the original gray roof that was proposed. One of the big topics of conversation at the last hearing in my meetings with the hunter was, of course, privacy between the properties. When I met with the Watsons, they took me through their home, their patios, their deck in the back, and what we determined was if we agree to maintain a hedge that's at least 9 feet high west of the pine tree and 7 feet high east of that pine tree, they'll enjoy their privacy and they won't be staring into my client's home nor their windows. And so that's been reflected on the site plan and the landscape drawings as well. Similarly, we had originally proposed, I think it was 3 upper canopy eucalyptus trees. When we agreed to keep the pine tree, that went down to 2 upper canopy trees. We had originally proposed those to be pine trees, but the neighbor was concerned about having a pine tree on our property next to her oak tree, so we proposed changing that one to an oak tree. So the oak is technically a lower canopy tree, but it sounds like staff can support that change. And then lastly, I know there was a suggestion at the last hearing to flip the house, possibly promoting more privacy between the 2 properties. I did discuss this with the Watsons, and we all kind of felt that that would actually be a little more detrimental to their enjoyment, putting the mass and bulk of the house closer to their property and creating more shadow. So we would like to keep the design as is, and I believe they would as well. So in summary, I think we've done a really thoughtful and thorough job of revising the design to address all the comments. We hope you'll agree this afternoon and approve this design. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the architect?
Nope.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Okay, members of the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application, come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Melanie Billig, and I'm a neighbor of this project. There are a couple of things that I'd like to address and ask you to consider. One is that we pay attention to the garage door. It's going to be right up there in front on the street, and I'm concerned about the materials and I'm concerned about the design. I think it'd be totally inappropriate in our neighborhood if we had a stock garage door in the front of this house. I think garage doors are extremely important in all neighborhoods, and given the colors that they have chosen and everything, I think that that it would be a nice idea if we didn't have a stock door, if we had a design a door that really is compatible with the house, and in terms of materials. That's what I'm particularly concerned about. I'm also concerned about the materials for the windows and the front door, the vinyl. We really encourage in the design guidelines and that we use natural materials. And I'm just questioning, is the siding on the house, is it wood siding or is it metal siding? I don't understand. So I'd, like to know, which material it is, because it makes a tremendous difference to the the overall compatibility with what kind of design and materials that we have in our neighborhood. Then the other thing that concerns me is the recommendation to plant 3 eucalyptus trees. We do not have eucalyptus trees in our neighborhood or anywhere near this project. They are not native trees, and they will have a tendency to, while they grow tall, they are also, if everyone's concerned about a fire hazard, there is nothing worse than a eucalyptus tree. I know, because we had a property, 35 acres of them. And someone set fire to the house down below. We were on a hill, fire down below, and I will not ask you to really think about the horrific situation that produces. And plus, they spread all over the place. You cut one down and you're going to have 10. I mean, they're the worst possible excuse for a tree to be planted in Carmel. So I would ask you to please have at least 2 oaks put on the property in place of those 3 eucalyptus trees. And I think that the designer and the owners have been cooperative with the city, and I think we're very close to having something done. But I think that when you look at the whole design of the project, we support simple forms. And if you look at the construction of the house, I mean, the design of the house, the front is not really characteristic of what we have in Carmel, with simple forms, real materials, and that's where I'm at. Michael, can I have one more second to
Sure,
address?
Go ahead.
To address, I know your frustration with design traditions. You probably know that I've sat on that committee for 2.5 years. And so I want you to understand that we really wanted and asked for a closer working relationship with you. Like a lot of things we've requested, that did not happen, wasn't approved. And so, you know, I don't want you to blame us. And another major problem with design traditions is what's going on now, and what's been going on for basically 6 months. We're not working. We have had an extended period of, we'll call it downtime. And so we're working on putting together our thoughts and the public's thoughts. And we've come a long ways ourselves. But unfortunately, our planning director has, you all know, has moved on to bigger and better things than us. And plus, and I explained this to the city council when they were chiding us about, you know, why we weren't completed in our project. It's because there's been illness on the part of some staff members, and issues with family with illness, and then just being sidelined because the council frankly has all of these projects going, and guess what? There's no way to complete all of this stuff in the amount of time that we have. So I don't want you to think that we're holding it up, because we certainly are not. We are ready to move on with this project. And we hope that what we've presented in our recommendations will really help further the design issues, the accessibility of the project to people, the understanding, the simplicity of it. And it's a huge improvement over the first design traditions, which I also sat on that commission for a long time. So, you know, I thought I should really kind of clarify a little bit.
Thank you for that update. We appreciate it. Thank you for your comments. Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application? I don't see anybody in the chamber. Anybody online? See a
Yes.
hand up. I thought
Yes, Mary
there's a
Watson.
hand, Mary Watson, would Would you like to unmute yourself? There you go.
Hello there, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Hi there. Listen, I want to just comment on a couple things. One is that we did send a letter into the commission. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read it, but in the letter, we wanted to make note of the fact that we have been working with Samuel Pitnick, as he had mentioned earlier, and we want to compliment him and the hunters on being very open to making changes that we felt benefited both actually their property and our property. So I just want to make sure that people know that we have worked together and we've come up with, I think, a really good solution. I also made note at the end of that letter that I just wanted your comment on. I'm not sure how the city works on this one, but that the one thing that we still would like to have done, and I think Sam is very much aware of that, and that is that because we have lived on that situation with no fence for, I think it's been about 4 years since that whole property was first torn down. We've been without a fence, and we know that once the construction starts, we do not want to live another year and a half or whatever it will be with an orange plastic fence there again, and would like to have the wooden fence constructed as soon as possible so we can start landscaping on our side of the property and get something going. It's kind of been a long haul, and we have a dog, and we'd like to be able to just have a more secure boundary along that fence line. So I don't know if you can make a comment on that, but just wanted to call your attention to that. Thank you. We appreciate all your help.
Thank you for your comments, Mary. Okay, is there anybody else who have a hand up?
I don't see anyone else.
I don't see anybody, yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask Sam, did you want to make any final comments?
I do, yeah. Yeah, I know Ms. Billig had a bunch of comments. I think a lot of that information was incorrect. No metal woods, metal siding, no vinyl windows. I think you know that, and I think the garage door is very appropriate for the home. You know, I don't think garage doors are meant to be overly flashy. It's compatible with the vertical wood siding, the arch top, complementary the arched top at the front door. We did remove the eucalyptus trees, as I mentioned. It's a pine tree and oak tree, but I just want to point out for the record that eucalyptus are on the city's list of approved trees. So if the general consensus is these are no longer appropriate, then I think that should probably be updated at some point. Ms. Watson, regarding the fence, I know she had brought that up. You know, I spoke with my clients. And they really don't want to invest in a brand new fence at this time, only to then spend the next year and a half in construction. Inevitably, that fence is going to get damaged. It's going to get destroyed, and they really don't want to have to pay to put up a fence twice. I had talked, I think, with Ms. Watson at one point. You know, I said, you know, we're going through the planning commission process right now. Our hands are kind of tied. They're more than welcome to apply for their own fence permit if they wanted to get started sooner. And I'm sure my clients would be happy to have a conversation with them about that. I even offer to help them with the permits if they wanted. But at this point, we would really prefer not to put up a permanent fence now and have it endure all that construction and be damaged and then have to do it again. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Sam. All right, any other comments from the public? Okay, anybody's hand going up? Mary's got her hand up again.
Mary has her hand up again.
Mary, did you have any additional comments? I think she's muted. She probably just forgot to take her hand down. She's not unmuting, so I assume she doesn't. All right.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there she goes. All right. Did you have something else you wanted to add, Mary?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one additional fact, and that is on the other side of the Hunter's property, they do have their fence up. Their wooden fence has been constructed. So if there's any worry about damage, they've already got their fence up on their side. So just to be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the public comments, open it up to the commission for their comments. Commissioner Karapetkoff, would you like to begin? Or?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
So I think this is the second or the third time we're looking at this property, so we have quite a lot of information here. I'm glad to see that the applicant made changes to the dormers. They were pretty big and intrusive last time we looked at them. I was listening to the comments about vinyl windows, and I'm not sure exactly where they are. I look at the documentation; they say metal cloth windows, so that's not.
There's no vinyl windows. There's no metal siding.
Windows. And also, the garage door, I think it's consistent with the design of the house. It's vertical wooden planks, right? So it looks, and it's not like a off-the-shelf garage door. It's a custom door with an arch, which makes it really interesting from an architectural perspective. So I think I don't have problems with the garage door. The comment about the house being too complex, when you look at that from the street, I'm not sure exactly what that means. The design guide it has this statement in it, but what I see when I look at the house, I see 4 gables, and it doesn't look very complex to me. There's no mix and match of different types of roof. I don't see flat roofs, I don't see metal roofs, I don't see different kinds of roof on top of it, so I'm pretty satisfied with the way the roof looks like. The fence, I think the neighbors have a right to be protected in some way. I don't know if there's a way to do a temporary fence that later can be upgraded or replaced. I'm not very familiar with that scenario, but as a homeowner, I know that it's fairly expensive to install a new fence and then see it demolished by the construction work. That's not a good investment, definitely. If there's any way to put up the poles and put some temporary fencing and then take it down and then put a permanent fence, something that is, more reasonable in terms of cost, I would definitely support that, because I think the neighbor has the right to some privacy during the construction. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Before we get too much further along in the conversation here, can we get some direction from staff regarding the fence? Is that something that's in the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission to specify when the fence would be constructed?
So this came up with the first project that was pulled from the consent agenda. I don't believe it's appropriate to require that a permanent fence be installed prior to construction. There are temporary construction fences that could be installed during construction, but a permanent fence, if the neighbors agree to it, it could be installed anytime. Any individual could install a fence at any time. But again, requiring that the side yard fence be installed prior to, work on the foundation, I don't believe that would be an appropriate condition. That sounds more like a mitigation, which wouldn't be appropriate as a condition.
Okay, thanks for your clarification. Hey, Commissioner Delps, you want to make your comments?
I have nothing to add other than perhaps in the construction and special condition number 31, construction management plan, we could ask that in the plan, a temporary fence be included on the north property line, which is probably a good idea anyway for safety for the neighbor and protection of the site. And most projects do have fencing, so that would be my only addition.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Allen?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. I like the idea of the temporary fencing being added into the plan, and I appreciate how the applicant went back and made the necessary changes. So, thank you.
Commissioner Locke?
Agree with previous comments. Also am pleased that the tree is remaining on site and that the eucalyptus has been replaced with Monterey pine and oak. Yeah, I think I would agree with the construction management plan addition.
Okay. Yeah, we've seen. No. Sorry, the public comments are closed. I'm sorry. I think there was adequate opportunity to make comments. We've seen this the third time. At any rate, I really appreciate the fact that the architect listened to us, took our direction. He made the changes. I think it's an example of how it made the project better. You know, this is a nice cottage-looking Carmel typical house. I think it's got represents a lot of the character. I'm sorry Neil didn't really jump up and help us out on this one, but I think it really presents a traditional cottage style. So I think the architects have done a good job here, and I guess we can make a condition.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to approve the resolutions provided by staff with the addition of changing special condition number 31. Prior to the issuance of the building permit, the applicant shall submit a construction management plan inclusive of temporary fencing on the north property line, etc.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept it as presented by staff, the resolution with the addition of a condition of temporary fencing. And under the construction management, is that what you want to put it?
Yeah, 31.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Karpetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, the motion is carried. Okay, that brings us to item number 7 on the public hearings tonight. This is a design study, DS 24074, the Schneider project. This is consideration of a design study for the demolition of a 170 square foot detached garage and expansion of an existing 898 square foot single story residence with a 1,236 square foot 2-story addition inclusive of an attached garage. It's located on the southwest corner of Mission and 12th Avenue. Staff report, please.
Good afternoon. I'll be presenting the Schneider project. As background, this is an existing 898 square foot house plus 48 square feet of basement mechanical, so totaling 946 square feet. There's also a 170 square foot detached garage, and this is a 5,107 square foot lot located at the southwest corner of Mission and 12th. And in February of 23, the Historic Resources Board did determine that this is not a historic resource. So as part of the project, the detached garage will be demolished, and the existing cottage, it's the single-story cottage, will be expanded with a 1,236 square foot 2-story addition that includes an attached garage. So as mentioned, there's 898 square feet of main level house, and then 48 square feet of basement that's staying. And then the addition is comprised of 399 square feet at the main level, 278 square feet of garage, and then 556 at the upper level. The total floor area is going to be 2,182 under the max allowed. And then this project additionally includes an attached accessory dwelling unit. And as you know, that ADU is not being discussed tonight, and the floor area figures are not included in the totals. So the proposed project also includes a second-story terrace. That's not floor area or site coverage, it's south-facing. And the project also includes reconstructing an existing rear deck. And of course, the project also includes bringing the site coverage into compliance. Right now, they're over on site coverage, and they're gonna bring it into compliance. We can always come back to these numbers if needed. Here are the floor plans. Again, an existing single-story cottage going up to 2 stories. And I'll just run through the elevations. So the north elevation, visually and practically, is the facade of the building. However, because it's on the long side of the lot, it's actually considered a side elevation, and the Mission Street frontage is, like per code, the front elevation. So you can see here the additions expanding out to the east, to the left. And this is our east elevation, technically the front, looking west. The south elevation. As you can see, the glazing on the existing cottage will be changed a bit, and the deck will be expanded and enclosed. And then the west elevation, no changes to the west elevation. You can just see through to that new two-story addition. So this is a concept hearing. We'll come back for final details. But in terms of forest character, there's no existing trees proposed for removal. There were already a couple of pines in poor health removed, 2 on the property and 2 in the right-of-way. We're still working with the forester regarding a potential tree replanting, and the forester has already approved 1 limb removal or 1 limb trim. And all new building structures are set back 6 feet from the significant trees on the site. So just standard condition approval number 2 is going to require a complete landscape plan. For privacy and views, staff has not identified significant privacy or view impacts. There is a tall, solid south a fence along the south property line, and there is a single-story building to the south. We have received 4 letters of support from neighbors to the south, to the east, and then to the northeast and northwest. But of course, the commission is here and can raise any concerns as appropriate. Mass and bulk. This is a single-story home going to 2 stories, so there will be a volume study in between the 2 hearings. The addition ridge is well below the 24-foot maximum, and the plate height is as well below the 18-foot maximum, and the pitch is going to match that of the existing home. So design guideline 7.7, I think, is relevant here. It says locate 2-story elements downhill, except where this would appear dominant or out of scale when viewed from the public right-of-way or a neighboring home. This is a corner lot that does slope downhill to the east. So the applicant has done as requested, and the 2-story element is located downhill. You saw the story poles today, and if you have any questions, we can talk about mass and bulk further. In terms of parking, there is a street-facing garage door, which isn't always recommended, but again, this is a corner lot, so there's really no option to orient it away from the street. And there are very low retaining walls that staff feels do not create a ramp effect, and that garage door along 12th doesn't seem to dominate the house. So staff thought it was an appropriate location of an attached garage. Just really quickly, the fenestration. The original cottage features like a tripartite style sliding wood windows, and the addition is also going to feature this tripartite style, but it'll be a fixed central pane with flanking casements, and they'll be a bit larger than on the original home. And then the addition is also going to feature awning windows, casement windows, and they are going to be plate glass and undivided, especially on the south elevation, undivided light windows. The entry of the existing home is proposed to be remodeled. So this is the primary entrance, and as you can see, it'll be expanded with increased glazing, like double doors with side lights on either side. And then similarly at the east elevation, this is the ADU entrance, which is fully glazed with those glazed side lights. And then just as a preview for the finished details, they have provided much of the detail we do require. So it's going to be wood shingle cladding to match existing, a comp shingle roof to match existing, a small entry awning at the east, quite small, so that will be metal standing seam. They're proposing a stone-tiled upper deck and then just a reconstructed wood lower deck at the south elevation, and then a wood garage door with narrow upper lights. Here's our sample board. Colors will be matching and neutral and muted. Staff is supportive of all materials here. In terms of site coverage, it is quite non-conforming at the moment. There are a lot of gravel, and they are bringing site coverage into compliance down to 684 square feet. The proposed lighting is sufficiently downlit and shielded and meets the lumen level, and the final plan set will include a lighting sheet plan showing locations of all the lights. So the staff recommendation is to accept this concept design study, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions for the staff?
We also have the architect here with us.
All right.
So just to confirm, the house has 35 windows and 2 large glass doors, the proposed house. Is that correct? 35 windows and 2 glass doors?
I don't have the window count memorized.
That's what the schedule. Well, that's what the schedule says.
There we go. I see 35.
Okay. Just checking.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Thank you, Catherine. Okay, this time I'd like to invite the architect to come up and make their presentation.
Hello, Planning Commissioners. I'm Eric Dyer, the architect. My client, Toby Schneider, has owned the property for about 10 years, and he's enjoyed the quaint 898 square foot cottage while maintaining a medical practice in the Bay Area. But he does, as a lot of people, want to retire here in the not too distant future. So the size of this home on a 5,000 square foot lot is just really too small for full-time living, comfortable full-time living. Toby has always loved the character of the existing home. So in our design, we are careful to keep the original form of the structure of the cottage and then make the additions to taking advantage of the significant sloping topography of the lot and taking cues from the old house. So instead of putting a second-story addition on top of the old structure on the higher end of the property, we carefully placed it at the lower end and partially actually submerged it. The highest point of the new roof is well below the 24-foot height limit. On the inside, it works as actually a split level. So you go up half a level to the primary suite and then half a level down to the garage, which is partially underground, where there's a shallow ramp down to the street. So it makes the garage a lot less prominent. The small deck above is nicely set so that it looks over the existing roof of the house to the south and catches glimpses of Fish Ranch and the surrounding hills. We're happy virtually all of the adjacent neighbors, including the one to the south, have written letters of support of the project. Catherine, do you have the photos I submitted to you?
From the staff report.
Okay, I think that would be instructive. I just want to kind of, as usual, two-dimensional elevations don't really tell the story, so I hope you were able to really take a look at the netting on the site and see what we're trying to do with the massing of the project. And is that one of them? Yeah, so starting from the west as you walk down 12th Avenue, the addition is setting nicely behind the original and obviously on the lower end. And the second story is such that it's virtually completely screened. Can you go to the next photo? Virtually completely screened. Oh, is that not? No. I think I sent some in that you attached to as a separate attachment to the staff report, I think.
These are the angles I included in the attachment.
Oh, I should have taken a look. Okay, well, hopefully when you were there at the site, you had a chance to be in the intersection of Mission and 12th, and basically you can't see the addition at all from there. So it's by settling it kind of delicately in there. There we go. There we go. Yeah, you can see it's virtually unseen from that part of the project, from that part of the public right-of-way. So you may also notice, if we go back to the elevations, maybe, or even actually if you go to the one that from the north, that one up a little higher, I'm sorry, from the west, the one you showed me, the first one? So sorry. It's okay. There you go. So you may notice the original cottage is U-shaped and with two shallow gables facing 12. So you can see those two with, you know, a low perpendicular slope roof between them. And reflecting the scale of the existing, what we wanted to do was to create a space, like you see the space between the two gables, and then a gable form with approximately the same width and as well as set back from the addition. So the scale of these forms kind of create a nice rhythm down the street. I'll just add also that in terms of the main existing facade, I don't really consider it composed very nicely, and there's already limited light in the cottage, so we decided to put some nice Dutch doors with side lights across this area. We did this at another project, I don't know if you remember that far back, but the Nilsson project, which was a remodel on Camino Real and 13th, and it's just turned out great. Because this is so set back, also the entry is not emphasized by its roof form, I really don't see how it could create a sense of grand entry at all. But it does bring really nice, even north light into the space. In terms of the other fenestration, you know, they're mainly facing areas which are not facing the street and are exposed to a deck which has a parapet and is enclosed to some extent. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions for the architect? Thank you, Eric.
Okay, and I know the owner is online, so he may be trying to be the next one to speak, Dr. Schneider.
Okay. Is he?
Yes, you can unmute yourself.
Is that Mr. Schneider there? With his hand up. Mr. Schneider, do you want to?
Yes.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for reviewing these plans. As Eric said, I've had this house for 10 years, and the long-term plan has been to retire here, and we'd like to make it bigger so that we can retire here. Both Joan and I really love the house, but it's just too small, and in order to make it livable, we need to have a larger house. I asked Eric I really like the cottage style, and rather than tear it down, I asked him if we could just put an addition on that would keep the character of the house and make it almost, I wanted to make it look almost seamless, that you couldn't really tell what was new and what was old, and I think he's done that. So I've showed it to all the neighbors, and they're all in full support. One thing that three of the neighbors brought out when I showed them the plans was they had some concerns about the fence returning along the driveway to the house. We want the property to be fenced both for a dog and for grandchildren, toddlers, so they won't wander into the street. And I know that the Planning Commission has discouraged driveway gates, and so we drew it with the fence returning to the garage. But the neighbors all seem to think that it would look a lot better if the fence just carried along the street and there was a gate across the driveway. And so I'm open to that. They thought it would look nicer. I kind of agree. The neighbor across the street has a driveway gate just like that with same material as the fence. So I'd love to hear the Planning Commission's thoughts on that, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the owner?
No.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schneider. Okay, any other members of the public that would like to come forward and speak to the Planning Commission regarding this application?
Neil Cruz, and I want to compliment the architect on the massing and the decisions that he made about that, and also the owner for saying, I don't want to lose the house entirely, and I want to stay with the feeling of the house as we grow. So I feel some good decisions have been made here. If you just look at the cottage and then you look at the new design, you can see a slightly difference in feeling between that cottage feeling and a more modern design. A couple of the elements that might make that are that the windows have no divided lights in them, and so we have clear glass panels, and there's no, some of the detail is not carried through into the new design. I understand that this is part of what we're doing. It is the modern aesthetic, but there is a whole different perspective on modern design that is given to us by environmental psychology, which gets into the actual psychological responses of people to various elements of design. You can find a lot of this work in the work of Christopher Alexander and his building language works that he developed. One of those was a lot of study about paned windows, and he said we have this idea that if you have panes, you're actually blocking the view, but he said we find psychologically it has the opposite effect. It frames the view multiple times and actually enhances the view. In addition, that the webbing that goes with the true divided lights actually carries the wall surface a little bit across the glass so that there's not such a separation between the window and the wall. And so those panes make the window feel more integrated with the structure of the building. So that's about all I wanted to say on that. I just wanted to say real quick that I really appreciate Chairman LePage's comments about the standing seam roof, and Chairman Locke. Thank you. Very well said. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, anyone else from the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application? Anybody? No hands online? I don't see any. Okay, I'm going to close the public comments. Oh, okay. Come on up, Eric.
Just a quick response to Neil in that the existing building doesn't have any divided lights, so we're kind of keeping that. And I would simply say that I would not call the addition modern design at all. So it's the same materials, the siding, which is kind of unique shingle siding, we're matching on the existing building. They'll all be true wood windows, and I think they'll go really well together. Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comments, open it up to the commission for their comments. Commissioner Locke, you want to begin?
Sure. I think this is a really nice design that takes into consideration the topography, the neighborhood, and I was one of those that walked from the corner of Mission and 12th, so you really aren't going to see that second story element to it, and I think it's really great that they have carried over kind of the existing building structure and moved it into this addition. And I think that the materials are interesting and continuing the kind of shingle siding and whatnot. All of it is really good. I am not in favor of putting a gate across the driveway. I think you have managed to be able to corral children and dogs with the proposed fencing. But overall, I think this is just a really nice project. So, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Allen, your comments?
Yeah, I am in favor of this design. I think it's fits the neighborhood. I love the use of the site. And I'm also not in favor of a gate for this project across the driveway. Couple things with the window size. Because the large windows are in the south elevation, I'm okay with that. They're quite large and typically would not be anything that we would want to see, obviously, from a street view. And then I do have some concerns around both the door on at the front of the home and then the door on Mission. They're overly large, I feel, and could be brought down into more of a scale that would be appropriate. And I was just looking through the design guidelines in terms of how we view doors and front doors, and there's you have a large expansion of glass there, and I'm not. One of the things that I would wish that you would do is reconsider the entryway and then also the door on Mission. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Delves?
Yeah, I agree. It's a very thoughtful house. The reuse of the current cottage is great, and it's just a great way to repurpose it's not historic, but it has history. And I think it's really well done. I think the additions as they are proposed will make it a much more livable home for the Schneiders. I share the concern of Commissioner Allen about the front entryway. I heard the position that you want more light coming in. I think you have an extraordinary southern exposure on this home, and as Commissioner Allen has noted, you have a lot of big windows on the southern exposure, and I'm fine with them because nobody sees them. The neighbors don't see them. You've just got a lovely private lot, and I also think that the entryway on Mission is far enough back and well enough shielded that I'm really not concerned about it. But the one in the front, and I'm open-minded here, Eric, but it is a bit of a statement. Maybe we could make less of a statement about look at my front door, and just tone it down a little bit. And I leave that to you to be creative. Other than that, I'm ready to approve this as concept.
Thank you, Commissioner Delves. Commissioner Karapetkoff?
Yes. I like that the house is on one level. Absolutely. It's wonderful that they can do it this way, probably because the lot is a little bit bigger. It's above 5,000 square feet, so that allows a little bit more flexibility. I do like the statement from the homeowner that they wanted to keep the character of the house, make sure that old and new do not contradict, and I think that's something we would like to support from a planning commission perspective. But when I look at the plans, I see, again, 35 windows and 2 large glass doors, which is, in my mind, excessive for a single-family home. I'm not sure if there is a ratio, how many windows for their 1,000 square feet it makes sense, but 45 plus 2 is probably far above the kind of the norm. Especially the north side, I'm not sure exactly. I understand the desire to bring light from the south side. You know, you can go with bigger windows on that side, and it's not visible from the street. But I'm not sure what the purpose is of all these windows on the north side. There are 2 bedrooms. Each bedroom has 3 windows. So really, I can understand a bedroom with 2 windows on 2 walls, but 3 walls of windows is quite excessive. This glass door, the big glass door at the entrance is also a lot of additional glare, I guess, on that side. And the side effect of having so many windows is that there are just a few solid walls in that house. If you look at that, the dark black lines here, there are just very few walls that actually can bear weight. So you end up with this construct where you need to put steel everywhere to support the structure. So I think it's an overkill in terms of windows. I think the functionality can be delivered in a much more modest and much more I would say modest way with less fenestration, especially on the north side. So my proposal is to reduce the number of windows on the north side and look at it again. I know it's only a concept hearing, so we have this opportunity to look again at the project, and hopefully we can find a smaller number of windows and glass doors in this new project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an ADU? They've got ADU on the plan. So how does that affect our review?
Correct. So the comments about the door-facing mission, that is the ADU, so that would be outside your purview, but certainly the front entry door.
Right. Okay. All right. It's an attached ADU, not a JADU.
It kind of wraps around the garage.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. I think the problem with the entry is that traditionally, when you have side lights on these older homes, they weren't that large. They typically tended to be 1 foot. That's what I've seen. And you kind of see the rhythm of that. If you look on the elevation where you see the windows, you have a smaller side light that's on either side of a larger pane. And so what's happening is you're getting kind of a repetitious rhythm happening there. It isn't broken up. And if you look on more traditional cottages like that, you see a lot more broken up and varied sizes. When you see these large repetitious, that's more consistent with contemporary architecture. So it's causing, I think it's just causing some, aesthetic problems on the front. So my direction would be it's basically what all the other commissioners are saying, but I think if you're going to have those skylights, you need to make them narrower, and I would certainly start with 1 foot, maybe max 14 inches, and I think that would create a better balance there. Also, maybe eliminate that middle bar, which is repeating the bar in the door. That may create a better rhythm to it. Other than that, it's a very nice rendition. I mean, it's so refreshing to see that the cottage, the whole theme is being maintained. It's got those very unique barn shingles, which I love in Carmel. That was really part of our craftsman period and really represents a very distinct architectural history of this town. So, it's a very nice rendition. So other than that, I would say was that the only direction we had pretty much from the commission? It's just the windows, right? And pretty much primarily the entry. We don't have any say about the ADU.
Well, but it's not just the entry, it's just the amount of glass all around the house.
Okay, so we'll include in our direction that the architect take a look at the amount of glass in there. Maybe they can reduce some of the size of the windows, maybe reduce, raise up the sill, eliminate them, create some variation.
And Chair LePage, I was going to say, if the front door, it already has a double front door. If
Right.
he's going to stick with a double front door, I would say that maybe you don't need the side lights.
Maybe you don't need the side lights. Yeah, maybe not. But the direction is the front door design needs to be worked on. So we'll leave up to the architect. So we have a resolution. It's just a concept. The only thing that's on the resolution at this point is volume study and tree density. So I'll make a resolution that we approve the concept with the addition that the architect redesign the front entry doors and glass and consider adjusting the number of windows throughout the house and maybe some of the size. Anything else? Okay, that's my motion.
I can second that.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item number 8 on the public hearings. This is another design study. This is DS 23-337, the Kim project, consideration of a concept design study for the demolition of an existing 997 square foot, one-story single-family residence and the construction of a 1,798 square foot, two-story single-family residence. It's located on Casanova Street, 2 northwest of 9th Avenue. We have staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the subject site is a 4,000 square foot lot currently developed with a 997 square foot residence. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing residence and develop a 1,798 square foot residence that's split between a 1,566 square foot residence and a attached 232 square foot garage. So staff has not identified any privacy or view impacts. We also have not received any correspondence on the project. So there's a little bit going on this slide with all of the colorful stars, but this is intended to represent the proposed second floor window locations. So as you can see, just looking at the elevations, and this is a clean version, we really don't have any second floor windows that are facing the adjacent neighbors. So this is the north elevation, which would be facing a neighboring property, as well as the south elevation facing a neighboring property. The two street facing elevations are the ones primarily which have the larger windows. And as you can see on the site plan, those are centrally located on the site and are not anticipated to present any privacy impacts. So this was not explicitly addressed in the staff report, but this is just something to consider. I pointed this out on the site. We also aren't recommending any changes, but kind of just a point to keep in mind as we consider second-story additions and their placement. The concept design study findings state that the project shall retain a reasonable amount of solar access for neighboring sites, and when considering solar access, excessively tall buildings, particularly those near a northern property line, which would block the free passage of sun onto neighboring solar collectors or south-facing windows, should be avoided. So this property is located more closely to the northern property line. It is set back 6 feet 6 inches from the property line and about 16 feet 8 inches from the adjacent building. Based on the site context, we have not recommended any modifications to the project in the staff report or currently at the hearing, and based on the story polls, we feel that the massing is appropriate. And we just want to bring this to the Planning Commission's attention, just as something to keep in your mind as we consider these second-story additions and the placement of the second-story additions. So in terms of the building and roof form, the building is a bit complex in terms of its form, but as you saw on the site today, there are a number of trees on site that are proposed to remain. The applicant is proposing to remove 2 non-significant acacias to accommodate the development, but there are a handful of oaks on site that are proposed to remain. That large grove in the rear, as well as the neighboring tree that is growing over the top of the addition, as well as some trees in the front of the property. The roof pitch do vary throughout the site. They vary between 4 and 12. 6 and 12 and 8 and 12, which you can see in elevation in the rendering. So the Planning Commission could consider as to whether those roof forms should be simplified or made consistent throughout. So that is not one of the considerations for final details review. In the resolution, we do have that standard condition for the volume study to provide a preliminary drainage plan consistent with our drainage standard operating guidance document. One was provided, however, it did not meet the applicable setback requirements, and then to consider revisions to the finished details, particularly regarding the color scheme. And with that, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt a resolution accepting a concept design study as described on the screen, and that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff? None here? No. Okay, thank you, Evan. Okay, I'd like to invite the designer to come forward and make their presentation.
Hello. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, staff, Evan, for presenting the project. I certainly think that Evan did a good job presenting. Oh, sorry, my name is Bradley Green. Thank you. Representing the Kims for this design. I certainly think Evan did a good job of presenting the project just now. I do want to address finished details in the staff report, as it does mention that we will be having an exterior color, a cream color, and it does mention black accents. The intention is more to have a deep brown accent color, so that we can have more of a neutral stance on a high contrast color scheme to comply with the guidelines for muted earth tones for the city. Also, as it was just brought up for solar access on the north property line, the proposed height of the new structure hopefully won't impede too much on solar access given the positioning of the second story offset from the garage of the neighboring property, as well as the existing tall oak tree that kind of impedes on solar access in the existing already, which we will be slightly pruning for this project. Other than that, I'll give you guys back your time, and I'm here to answer any questions for you or the public.
Thank you. Questions for the designer?
Are you completely connected with this color combination?
My clients are. They did pick out the colors for this, and they are very excited about it. I will say that I did specify Kelly Moore paint colors, which unfortunately a few months ago I didn't realize that Kelly Moore wouldn't exist anymore. So we will have to be specifying a different brand. But we do like the neutral cream and deep brown colors, and we'd hope to stick in that vein, but we are open to commissioners' suggestions.
Questions over here? I had a question about the complexity of the roof form. Is that the staff mentioned the trees, but is that what's driving this? I mean, it's a very complex roof form. Our guidelines, residential guidelines, speak to having simple roof forms, and you've got multiple pitches. There's a lot going on here. I'm just wondering what your design considerations are for that and why you went this way.
Yes, that's a good question. If you do look at the front elevation, the street-facing elevation, the only roof pitches that you will be seeing on all of the main gables are consistent with each other at 8 and 12. As you do reach the rear of the home, I did lower the pitch of those roofs so that I can keep vaulted ceilings on the interior, as my clients have liked the idea of, and still get window access on that second floor out and over to potential ocean views. So hopefully street facing, it is presenting consistency in the roof forms, if that helps answer your question.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me some input on that. Okay, thank you. Unless there's any other questions. No. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, is there anyone else here in the chamber that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application? I don't see anybody getting up. Anybody online there? I can't see the...
Nobody online, sir.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comments, bring it back to the commission for their comments. Commissioner Carapetkoff, you want to start, or you want to punt?
I don't have any significant comments. I think it's an interesting design. I agree the roof form is fairly complex. it makes everything there very complex. I mean, you'll end up with a lot of gutters and a lot of other stuff going on here. I like the overall look and feel. I like the divided lights for the windows. The overall feeling is positive for this project. I have no other comments. No.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Dels?
I really have nothing to add. I like it as a concept. Thank you for asking about the roof forms. I understand the explanation provided. My colleagues may want to push you on color, and I often follow them because I don't have great color sense. But other than that, I'm supportive.
Okay, Commissioner Allen?
Thank you for asking the question about the roof because, and the explanation seemed adequate to me. We see so many black and white combinations. It's just redundant. So I would like to see a different color if possible. But otherwise, I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't had any neighbor complaints, but it seems like it's a good design.
And Commissioner Locke?
I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
I still think the roof's a little complicated. You got 4 gables on the front of the house. The perpendicular ridge line is cut right over on the, I don't know if that's the west or north. I'm kind of turned around here. Maybe it's the north elevation. Right here. So you got this little cut out here. I think that's the north side. I just would give some direction that you think about maybe simplifying the roof lines a little bit. There's a lot going on here. So that's really my only comment, the only direction I have. We have a resolution, don't we? There's not much in the resolution. It's just this is just concept. We've got this, if I'm on the right resolution here. Kim, this is Kim. So we've got pretty much standard volume study, codes and ordinances, permit validity, water use, setback height verifications, service laterals. I mean, so I don't know how the rest of the commissioners feel about the roof. I feel like I would like to see some
that would probably
attention
help.
to maybe simplifying it a little bit.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I just wonder how they're going to implement that, because it's really kind of, it's like you have these tiny little pieces with the water management is going to be very interesting of that roof. How do you get the water out of a particular area?
Well, the only reason I bring it up, 2 reasons I bring it up. The guidelines speak directly about roof complexity, and so that's yes, we want cottages in Carmel, but we don't want historically they weren't overdone. They were simple structures, they had simple lines, and you can start to go down that road, and then it gets too complex. Yeah, it's still a cottage, but they just get overblown, and that's what the guidelines are speaking about when they want. They directly speak to this. So this is a direct finding that's in the guideline policies. So that's why I think at this point it's appropriate to give direction to the designer to explore creating some more simplicity and bringing it more into conformance with the specific guideline. So having said that, somebody want to make a resolution here? Or shall I?
I can.
Go ahead.
I would like to make
Commissioner
a motion to adopt a resolution accepting a concept design study for the demolition of the existing 997 square foot, 1-story single family residence and the construction of the new 2-story single family residence, with the addition of simplifying the roof structure and potentially looking at the color choice.
A second.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, we have a motion to accept the resolution as, concept resolution as per staff, with the addition that the designer explore simplifying the roof forms and the colors, to not have such a high contrast. That's really what we're trying to address here. Okay, any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, motion is carried. Okay, so thank you very much for your presentation and comments. Do we want to forge ahead, or?
Yeah, 2 more.
Okay, all right. All right, so the next item on the public hearing is item number 9. This is a use permit. This use permit 24053. This is for the restaurant Anton and Michelle's consideration of expansion of the indoor restaurant space with no net increase in the total number of allowed seats. And this is the Anton and Michelle restaurants located at the Court of the Fountains, northwest corner of Mission Street, 7th Avenue in the Central Commercial District. I have staff report, please.
Well, thank you, Chair LePage. So as you mentioned, the Anton and Michelle restaurant is located in Court of the Fountains at Mission and 7th. This is an existing full-line restaurant. They're open from 11:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. 7 days a week. They are proposing to expand into a nearby tenant space. So this space is not physically attached to the existing restaurant, but is within the courtyard. So the existing restaurant has about 100 seats. The proposed expansion area would have 27 seats for a total of 128 indoor seats. They currently have outdoor seating within the interior courtyard, and no changes are proposed to the outdoor seats. Their existing use permit does allow them to have 130 interior seats, and they would remain within 130. So the space that they're proposing to expand into was previously occupied by an art gallery and is at the back corner of the courtyard there, highlighted in yellow. On the left, you can see a floor plan of the existing restaurant space, which reflects the 101 indoor seats. On the right is the proposed floor plan for the expansion area, which reflects 27 indoor seats. The code has, here's the next slide. The code does talk about the number of seats that you can have at a bar. When we did our analysis for the restaurant, we looked at both spaces combined. If the commission finds that it's more appropriate to consider them independently, there would be a reduction in seats at the bar in the expansion area. However, if you find that it's appropriate to look at it as a cohesive whole, the project does comply. Also, we did verify with the Water Management District that there is sufficient water credits for this restaurant. And with that, we are recommending that you adopt a resolution approving the use permit for the expansion. And that concludes my presentation. I'm not sure if the applicant is able to be in attendance. They did mention at the tour that they were very busy at the restaurant. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and we'll certainly do the best that I can.
I had a question. They're going to be serving food in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they'll be serving a full menu.
This is not a dedicated bar. This is a
Correct.
part of the, yeah.
Yeah, a dining area.
It has the appearance of a bar.
Yes.
And it's separate from the restaurant. So I want to make sure that that's part of the use permit. Okay, any other questions for staff? All right, so is maybe the applicants online? There's nobody representing the, would anybody like to represent? make it, fake it till you make it. No, but nobody online?
No, sir.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up to the commissioners. Anybody? Jump in. Anybody?
I'll jump.
Oh.
My only comment would be, I think we should look at this as, how did Marnie put it? Now that I think I just lost my note. Leaving the seating as proposed. So I think that's fine. And I would actually go forward and move adoption of the resolution and approval of the use permit at this point as proposed by staff.
I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the resolution as proposed by staff. Is there any further discussion?
I just have a question for staff. What would be the flow? How would the food be taken from the kitchen into this new addition? There are two pathways I can see, and one of them goes for the dining area. The other one goes for the corridor. What is this? Like a hallway? How are they going to bring the food from the kitchen to this new area?
So the way the applicant described it in their application was that it was only 5 steps away. So based on that description, I would imagine they would go out the south towards the outdoor dining and then over to the north.
That's how they serve outdoor tables.
Because they have outside seating too, yeah.
It's right near the outside.
So for the dining area on the upper right side, there's a door over there.
Yes.
Right there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because that's how they go out here, so it's just there.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, good.
Okay, no further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, motion is carried. Thank you for that good public discussion and presentation.
I like the technique.
Okay. All right. Okay, that brings us to our last item on the public hearings, item number 10. This is another design study and another Snyder. So it's DS 23-319, consideration of a track 1 design study referral for installation of composite Fibrex windows at a single-family residence located on northeast corner of 9th and Lincoln. Staff report, please.
Yes.
Windows.
These are a little heavy.
Hi. You doing all right there? Oh,
Two
there.
different samples.
What you got? Let's see what you got there. Yeah.
As well
Okay.
as some brochures.
So, what are we looking at here?
I'll explain that in a moment. Sorry. So the last item on your agenda is a track 1 design study referral. This is for a window replacement at the Schneider residence.
Man, that is heavy.
So this is a request to deviate from the residential design guidelines. The applicant is proposing to install 9 windows, so replacing all the windows in the cottage with a composite material by Anderson Windows and Doors. This particular material is trademarked as Fibrex and marketed as the smart alternative to vinyl. The cottage is a 1952 cottage that contains the original divided light aluminum windows. And again, they are proposing to replace all of the windows, so they would remain consistent throughout the cottage. Residential Design Guideline 9.11 talks about window styles and materials being consistent with the architecture and also uniform throughout a building. The third bullet down talks about materials other than authentic unclad wood are appropriate only when it can be demonstrated that the material is more appropriate to the architecture. I will note that a couple years ago, the Planning Commission did make a decision that aluminum-clad wood windows that have the appearance of authentic wood windows were an appropriate alternative, and we have been implementing that direction for a number of years now. The difference between these two samples that you see, both are from Anderson. One is a wood window that is clad with the Fibrex material.
That one?
Yes. The other one is just the Fibrex material, and that's what's being proposed. Yes, that's what's being proposed for this residence.
And that's
so that's the
Fibrex then?
100 series?
That's clad with Fibrex.
Correct.
So they look kind of different. I mean, I'm looking at the cladding. Cladding on this one looks kind of like it has some fibers, but it's hard to tell.
So the zoning code does allow the planning commission to deviate from the residential design guidelines if the deviation achieves the applicable design objectives equal to or better than strict adherence. There are a total of 6 design objectives. We did go through each one in the staff report, so I'm not going to repeat them in detail here. We did find 2 of the objectives to not be applicable, but I think I am going to run through these other 4 for your consideration. My apologies, I'll be quick. So one design objective is ensuring the design and exterior alterations preserve traditional characteristics. Again, the home does have the original aluminum divided light windows. They are not proposing to change any window openings. So you could find the project consistent with design objective 2. So maintaining the look of the existing cottage with respect to window openings. The next objective is encouraging innovative design. The Planning Commission might consider whether this Fibrex material is innovative. It is an environmentally responsible material that's composed of 40% reclaimed wood fiber, which they indicate comes mostly from recycling of Anderson wood windows. So in that respect, you could find this material consistent with design objective number 3. The next one is promoting design that respects privacy. Again, there's no changes in the original window openings. An existing obscure glass window in a bathroom would remain obscured. So you could find this consistent with objective number 4. And then the final objective, encouraging originality and invention. This kind of overlaps a little bit with objectives 2 and 3. And then also I would just note that other exterior materials on the residence include wood siding, wood trim, wood shutters, wood porch posts and railings, as well as some stone veneer that was added more recently. So there still are a lot of natural materials within this cottage, so just something to consider. We are giving you 2 options this afternoon. So one option would be to deny the material, finding that it's not more appropriate to either the architecture and it's not equal to or better than authentic wood windows or aluminum clad wood windows. You could certainly make other findings as well. The alternative would be to adopt a resolution approving this particular window material, and then I've outlined here the findings for an approval. I did not have an opportunity to discuss with the applicant or the owners whether this 400 series window would be of consideration. So it might be worth asking them, if the commission's not supportive of the 100 series, if you would be supportive of the 400 series, even though the cladding is Fibrex and not aluminum. So with that, I will end my presentation. The owners and the applicant are here this evening, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, questions for staff?
So just to clarify, the proposal is the 100 or the 400?
It's the 100.
This one. The 100, okay.
Okay. Are they, now they're not going to be changing any size of the windows?
Correct.
Are they going to be the same configuration with the divided lights, or is that, what are they proposing?
I'll need to double check that.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll get to you as soon as you do your presentation. I'm just seeing if staff has some answers.
Let me pull up the plans.
Okay. All right. Why don't you make a presentation? Is that all right, or you want to?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right there, or what? You want to do it now, or?
You can do whatever you want.
Choices. Go ahead. Start your presentation.
Hi, I'm John Bellinger. I work for Home Depot. I'm the applicant for the Schneiders and doing the installation. So FiberX, our Anderson windows are wood windows that's been around for many years. We do FiberX. It's their new proposed windows. We have approval to do these windows for historical preservations in Monterey, Pacific Grove, Pebble Beach, Monterey County as a whole. We even get permission for San Francisco. It allows that natural look and feel of real wood window and allows the ability to paint and stain if need be. Usually it's a painted finish at that point. We have to do a different finish for the FiberX to have it allowed to be stained. But the great thing with the FiberX material, it allows us not to have to worry about termite, rot, or fungal, and especially here on the coastal area with the salt. You don't have to worry about the wood falling apart and the general upkeep and maintenance. So it gives that look and feel of a real wood window, keeping true to the great city that we have here without having to worry about replacing your windows consistently over and over again. With regards to everything that we have, we are keeping the simulated divided lights, so it is on the outside, so it's not separate panes. It's not a snap-on. It is complete and built into the window, and yeah, we are going to keep the existing structure, so it's a retrofit. So we aren't going to actually tear apart any of the siding. We'll slide the windows in and secure that, and it will be a watertight seal that you won't notice.
So it's a true divided light?
It is a true divided. It's an SDL, simulated divided light. So it's not inside the window pane. So it's a double pane glass that we're doing.
So it's a simulated. It's got a spacer in there?
Yes, a spacer in the
So
glass.
you have a raised applied surface grid on the exterior and the interior?
Correct, yes.
And in between there's a solid spacer so you don't look down?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
what colors do they come in?
We have multiple different colors for the application that we're looking for. Today is a white interior, white exterior.
So they're proposing white?
Correct.
Okay.
But in other cases, if you had, Anderson has a wide range of different colors that we can hit.
May I ask the question?
Is this your typical simulated divided mullion?
That would be yes.
That's it?
Yeah, that one would be yes.
Okay.
We have different grid patterns that we can do. There's different designs, but that is the most common.
And the windows that are on the house are casement. What are they proposing to put in?
We do have sliders, but we can switch to casements if that is needed. We have the configuration to be able to do casements, but right now it's sliders at the same spacing. So it's easier operation in a lot of cases for homeowners to go with the slider.
Okay. Any other questions for?
So the thermoplastic polymer is recyclable, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So at the end of its lifetime, it gets brought back and renewed?
Yes, that's the design. So Anderson, a lot of wood windows, most of theirs is a recycled from their shavings and everything in their cuts. So that's what they're using, and then mix the resin into it that gives it its rigidity so it can go bigger, wider gaps than even some of their real wood windows. Sorry.
All right, great, thank you.
Yeah. Right now, the homeowners have a single pane aluminum windows, right?
Correct.
So have you advised them that they will be getting less light by switching to these new windows because the frames are bigger and you are moving from single pane to double pane, so less light goes in?
Less light, and with the requirements here in the California, we have to put additional coating on it to make past Title 24. So there's additional coatings that you put on all glass that gets installed, all windows that get installed in your houses nowadays. So it's a different, even a different hue that comes off it.
And the homeowners are fine with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you just confirm the divided light pattern for the commission? It looks like the window schedule says colonial. So would that be this one here? Yeah. Okay.
So they're not going to go with what they have.
So colonial is defined in the sense that how many verticals and how many horizontals. So we have it, I can grab exactly, it should be 4 horizontals, so colonial, even though we're matching, it would call it colonial with 4 horizontal, 0 verticals in that case, and which is what was installed in the windows currently right now.
It's a 4-light vertical.
Yes, that's the design is like for like with different materials.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else from the audience like to address the Planning Commission regarding this? Anybody online?
No one with their hand raised.
Nobody. Okay. Bring it back. I'll close the public comments. Bring it back to the commission for their comments. Commissioner Delfs?
Yeah, I'm supportive of this. I think going down the innovative path as you offered, Marnie, I think we've done this. I've participated in this once before. I think as better products come out, we need to allow people to try them. And this just seems to have much more upside than downside, in that they will probably last longer, recycled materials, recycled in the future, and they won't leak. So I'm supportive.
What's your opinion as regards to putting sliding windows opposed to the casement, which are existing?
I don't think I don't care, Michael, but I'm open to other opinions, certainly.
Yeah, all right, that's not an issue for you.
It's not an issue.
All right. Commissioner Karapetkov?
I think we're discussing setting a precedence. Is that the first time these windows are being discussed? I would like to be more careful with that. Maybe have a little bit of time to investigate, what's the market feedback on this technology, because I had a quick look at the internet. There are some concerns about warping and other things that can happen with these windows, but they're relatively new, so there's not enough market information, I guess, at this point to say, are they good, are they going to stay, are they going to break? I would feel more comfortable if we have a little bit of time to investigate this new material and new type of windows. My other concern was that usually when you replace aluminum windows or metal windows, steel windows with something like that, you lose like light, basically. And that is usually what people don't understand until, when they install the windows, they go in and say, oh, why is it so dark? It used to be lighter here. But that's kind of the trade-off when you get a better insulation. My kind of concern is if we can get a little bit of more time to investigate this.
Okay, Commissioner Allen?
So I'd be okay moving forward in terms of, it's innovative, it's different and new. I mean, my gut is telling me that Anderson would probably stand behind the product if we did run into issues with it. And then I don't know if this needs to be said, but if there's issues with dry rot when they get in there, then I think that we need to explain to the applicant that they need to come back to us, right? This permit is just for windows, and if it extends further, then they need to come back to the planning department. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then, I'm sorry if I could, because I see Commissioner Karapetkov really looking at this.
This is the 400, I understand that.
Okay,
Yeah,
just wanted to make sure.
I understand that.
It's the one back
They're
there.
proposing the 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that people don't pay attention to is when you remove the old windows, I have the windows exactly like this, and I remove them. And when you remove them, you break the siding. So there's no way to get that. Well, there may be a way, but it's very complex to get the windows out without breaking the siding. And once you break the siding, you're talking about a much bigger project. So,
yeah, I think the windows are in what they call block cut. That's how those old metal windows were.
they have flops behind the siding.
I don't think they have a flange. But that's the installers. Go ahead, Commissioner Locke. I'll make my comments here in a minute.
Okay. I am actually very supportive of this. Not only is it a wood product, and it is wood product with the plastic polymers, but it is also recyclable, energy efficient. It makes use of reclaimed wood. Everything I've seen about it, I think that we should give it a shot. And just to point out also that this has been patented since '95. So it has been around. Maybe we haven't seen it here. And I think the representative from Home Depot mentioned that, you know, it's being used on historic buildings and other things where people are super picky about that kind of thing too. I think that you give it a shot here, and I have no problem with them switching to sliding, whatever. The setup of this house is actually far enough back from the road. You're not going to see any of the detail. So I think that it would be a good place to put this in and see how it works.
Okay, Marty can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the guidelines primarily are, well, let me go back a little bit. I've been on these commissions long enough to be around for a lot of discussions about windows. In fact, we had a subcommittee on windows a while back. I think that's when Keith Patterson was on the commission, and I can't remember who the other person on the subcommittee was. But because the guidelines specify wood, unless the existing architecture supports something else. And it's primarily what the residential guidelines are dealing with in terms of windows is aesthetics, because they want to maintain the character of the building, and if you're going to change the windows, the primary consideration was the aesthetics. And what came out of the subcommittee was we would approve, because we were getting a lot of application for clad windows. A lot of application for clad windows, and if we looked at the guidelines just strictly, they didn't encourage that. Although the guidelines are discretionary, so we were allowed. But what came out of the discussion on the windows was that we wanted to make sure they looked authentic and that they maintained the character of the structure. And that's how I'm looking at this, And and we've already moved and approved for clad windows. This is another type of clad window. So, it's, to be honest with you, the 100 sample you're providing, I don't find it a very attractive window. The depth of the mullions and the extrusions aren't very impressive. They're pretty shallow. It looks kind of flat to me. So I'm not even talking about the material. Material's fine as far as I'm concerned. If you want to take the risk on this material, have at it. It's only a 10-year warranty on it. That's all it's on it. But Anderson's a big company. They've been around a long time. I'm sure they stand by it. And warranties are what they are. But the aesthetics of it is what I'm concerned about. And I don't really think that this sample represents what you've got there. I think that it could be done to do a little better job. One of the things that happens when you deal with going from a casement window to a sliding window is the two windows are offset. They've got to slide. They've got to bypass. Casement windows are on the same plane. They swing out. So it's a whole different look. So that can affect the aesthetic and how it makes the house look. It's also a consideration for the homeowner. You don't want to put something in that's going to make your house look less, not as nice, because that affects, the aesthetics and ultimately the appeal of the home. So what I would like to see is that you go back with a casement window, just like you have with this product. I think that's going to give you a better looking product. It's going to look more authentic. It's going to add more value to your home in the long run. It's going to give you all the performance that you want, with the cladding, insulated glass. So that's just, and I think that is more in keeping with what the guidelines are trying to go for, and that is replacing your window with something which looks authentic and is in keeping with what you already have on the home. So those are my comments.
I'm trying to figure out how to do this.
How do we do this?
So I'm going to move to approve the resolution provided by staff, the approving version, since you gave us a denial and an approving version, with the condition that the windows be casement windows, not sliders.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution for approval with the specification that the windows be casement and not sliding. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Karapetkov?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes. Thank you. Motion is carried. Okay, that concludes the public hearings. And we have the director's report. So Marnie's going to... You're the officially interim director, aren't you?
No.
You're not the officially...
No. I'm planning President Waffles.
All right. Well, give us the waffle report.
So I just have a couple of items. One we already mentioned earlier this evening. The City Council does have a budget workshop scheduled for Tuesday, May 21st at 4:30. So everyone is welcome to attend and provide input to the council on the budget. My second and final announcement is just to let you know that the recruitment for the Community Planning and Building Director will close next week. And then we'll go into starting to schedule interviews. So moving along with that recruitment.
Great. Okay.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, thank you. We are adjourned.
What time is this on 21st?
Damn.